You ever have a moment where the ground doesn't shake, but somehow everything shifts? That was me, sitting across from my wife of 7 years, Carly, at our favorite waterfront restaurant in Savannah, a bottle of Pinot Gris half finished between us, when she smiled and said, "I think you should go out with Marissa." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" Carly tilted her head, her loose blonde curls brushing her collarbone. "Marissa. My best friend. You two have chemistry. And I just think, maybe you should explore it." I actually laughed. I laughed out loud, thinking she was joking. "Wait, are you serious right now?" Her expression didn't change. She took a slow sip of wine. "I'm dead serious, Jenna. It's just dinner. No pressure. You've been so restless lately. I see it." Restless? No. Confused, maybe. We hadn't had a real conversation in weeks. She'd been distracted, always on her phone, suddenly working late when her job as a high school guidance counselor never used to demand that. But this, suggesting I date her best friend. I leaned forward. "What exactly are you trying to say, Carly? You want an open marriage now?" She shook her head gently, almost pitying. "I'm saying you deserve to be happy. If I can't give you that, maybe someone else can." My pulse throbbed in my ears. Marissa had been in our lives forever, Carly's college roommate, a real estate agent with a perfect smile and a wardrobe I couldn't compete with. She was always around. Sunday brunches, birthday parties, even girls' nights when I wasn't invited. But this was twisted. "Did she put you up to this?" Carly's eyes met mine. Calm. Cold. "No, Jenna. This was my idea." I didn't know what was more disturbing, her suggestion, or how little emotion she had behind it. The woman I married wouldn't have pawned me off on her best friend like some kind of charity case. I pushed my chair back. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not interested." She barely flinched. "It's just dinner. If you change your mind, you have her number." I left the restaurant with my stomach in knots and my mind spinning. What was happening to my marriage? The next morning, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Carly's phone was face up on the counter, and a text lit up the screen. From Marissa. "Did you tell her yet?" I hate lying to her face. I stared at that text like it was a ghost rising out of Carly's phone. My stomach twisted. "Did you tell her yet?" I hate lying to her face. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. The message said enough. She'd told me to go out with Marissa like it was some selfless act, like she was trying to set me free. But no, it was a cover. A weak, manipulative way to redirect my suspicions. And now I knew why. Carly and Marissa were already involved. I backed away from the kitchen counter, heart pounding, eyes stinging. 7 years. 7 years of building a life together. I thought we were solid. We'd survived my job loss during the pandemic, my mom's cancer diagnosis, even the long silence that had crept into our marriage lately. And this was how she repaid me. That afternoon, I drove to Tybee Island and sat in my car by the dunes, staring at the waves crashing like fists into the shore. I hadn't cried. Not yet. I felt hollow, like my body hadn't caught up to the betrayal. I thought about the way Carly had smiled at dinner, serene, like she'd made peace with something. Of course she had. She was already sleeping with her best friend. I couldn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I needed proof. So I started with the one thing Carly never thought I'd check. Our shared iCloud account. She used to sync everything, photos, calendar, even her notes app. I figured she'd stopped. Apparently not. I opened her notes and scrolled. One entry stood out. Things to say if Jenna finds out. I clicked it. We didn't mean for it to happen. You and I haven't been intimate in months. I thought you were pulling away first. Maybe we're all better off this way. I felt sick. Like I could physically throw up. She was already planning her defense speech, like cheating on your wife with your best friend was just a messy little oops. That night, I pretended everything was normal. Kissed her cheek. Made dinner. Laughed at her dry jokes about her students. But inside, Inside I was fire. And fire doesn't just burn. It spreads. The next day, I paid a visit to someone Carly never expected me to turn to. Marissa's ex-husband. I hadn't spoken to Evan in almost 4 years, not since Marissa's divorce. He was quiet, reserved, a civil engineer with a dry sense of humor and an allergy to drama. But I remembered the night we all had drinks and he'd looked right through Marissa like she was a stranger. There was pain there. Something unspoken. I found him at a local coffee shop, sitting outside with a black notebook and a cappuccino. He looked up when I approached, confusion flickering across his face. "Jenna." "Hey," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Mind if I join you?" He shrugged. "Sure. What's going on?" I didn't waste time. "I think Carly and Marissa are having an affair." His eyebrows lifted, but he didn't look surprised. "Not exactly. Since when?" "I'm not sure," I admitted. "But it's been going on long enough that they're planning damage control. Carly wanted me to go on a date with Marissa, actually suggested it. As a distraction." He leaned back slowly, rubbing his jaw. "Wow. Yeah." Then he said it. Just one sentence that made everything tilt. I always suspected there was something going on between them, even when we were married. My heart paused. "You're serious?" Evan nodded. "She used to leave the room to talk to Carly. Wouldn't let me touch her for months. Said it was stress. But I found a receipt once, hotel room booked under Carly's name. She swore it was a girls' weekend. Now it makes sense." I exhaled, shaky and slow. The pieces were falling into place faster than I could keep up. "I need proof," I said. "Solid proof. Because right now, Carly thinks she's in control. She thinks I'm clueless, or too broken to act." Evan narrowed his eyes. "You thinking of going legal?" "Not yet," I said. "First I want her to feel what she's done. Publicly. Socially. I want the world she's built to shake." He nodded slowly, a small smile creeping in. "All right. What do you need from me?" I pulled a printed photo from my bag. One I'd found in Carly's secret folder on iCloud. It was a selfie. Carly in a robe. Marissa in the mirror behind her. Bare shoulders. Wine glasses. "I need to know who Marissa's broker is." Evan's smile widened. "That'd be me. She never changed it after the divorce." My eyes widened. "You still handle her accounts?" "Sure do. Know her passwords too." "Why?" I leaned forward. "Because I'm about to bring this whole thing down. And I want it to start with her career." I'd never played dirty before. I was the type who resolved things quietly, calm conversations, logic, patience. But something about betrayal, it rewires you. It makes you strategic. Evan and I met again 2 nights later, this time in his small home office lined with real estate files and project plans. He pulled up Marissa's listings, 6 active properties, all high-end, all sitting pretty on the Savannah market. She was top tier, no doubt. Beautiful smile, designer heels, trust mem polished energy. Clients adored her. But one thing about reputations. They're fragile. "I can't just post anything under her name," Evan warned, fingers hovering over the keyboard. "But I can schedule an open house. Change a few dates. Cancel a few showings." I smiled. Let her look incompetent. Confused. Unreliable. Make her spiral. "And this." He slid over a manila folder. Inside were screenshots, text confirmations, calendar invites, even an Airbnb reservation made under Carly's Apple ID for Girls' Weekend 2 weeks ago. They weren't even hiding anymore. "Perfect," I said softly. "This is perfect." We ran a full interference campaign. Evan scheduled an open house at the wrong time, so her clients arrived to locked doors. A key listing, one of her biggest, was flagged as inactive online for 48 hours, just long enough for another agent to swoop in. I didn't feel guilty. Because while we played the long game, Carly was still lying to my face. She came home late again that Friday night, hair tousled, cheeks flushed. She kissed my forehead, curled up on the couch beside me like nothing had changed. "Rough day?" I asked casually. She sighed. "The usual. Kids being dramatic. I had to call 3 parents today." I smiled. "I bet." But I knew where she'd really been. I'd seen the Airbnb's ring cam footage. Evan had helped me spoof access. And there she was, clear as daylight, walking in with Marissa, kissing her, laughing, twirling a wine glass like she was in some Hallmark rom-com, not the center of a ticking time bomb. On Sunday morning, Marissa called me. For the first time since Carly's date suggestion. "Hey, Jenna." Her voice was hesitant. Soft. I know things are weird, but can we talk? Just us." "Sure," I said sweetly. "Let's meet at the brasserie downtown. Tomorrow." "Okay. Thank you." I hung up and stared at the phone. She had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. No idea that while she sipped her mimosas and played innocent, I'd scheduled a private showing for her biggest client. One that would absolutely blow up in her face. The brasserie was sunlit and slow that Monday. Classic French jazz spilling softly through the speakers, fresh pastries stacked behind glass, and the scent of orange zest and espresso swirling in the air. Marissa was already at the table when I arrived. She wore a silk blouse and oversized sunglasses like she thought this was a movie scene. She stood up, arms out like we were old friends. "Jenna, you look amazing." I sat down without returning the hug. "Let's not pretend," I said, calmly pouring myself a glass of water. "You wanted to talk. Go ahead." She paused, visibly thrown. "Okay. Fair enough." She set her sunglasses down. "Look, I know things seem confusing. Carly and I, what happened, wasn't planned. We were both in a really complicated place and..." I raised a hand. "Don't insult me by pretending it was spontaneous." Her lips parted. "I never meant to hurt you." "Except you did. Repeatedly. In my house. While I was still married to her." She swallowed. "Carly said you'd pulled away. That things were falling apart for months." I laughed, low and bitter. She was falling apart because she was already cheating. There was a beat of silence. Her face tightened, but she didn't deny it. "You know," I said, leaning in, "if you'd been honest, even once, I might have walked away quietly. I might have spared you what's coming." Her brows lifted slightly. "What do you mean?" I tilted my head. "You didn't notice. All those missed showings. The angry client who backed out last night after you ghosted her? She called your broker." "Evan?" she asked, voice sharp. "MHM. You remember him, right? The man you used and discarded like a credit card receipt." She blinked hard, color draining from her cheeks. You're working with him." I just smiled. "That's illegal," she said quickly. "You can't sabotage someone's business." "Oh, don't worry," I cut in. "No lies. No fakes. Just a little chaos in the cracks you already created. You're the one who missed the appointments. You're the one who mixed up your calendars while you were too busy playing house with someone else's wife." Marissa stood up fast, knocking her mimosa over. The glass didn't shatter, but it rolled, leaking orange foam onto the white linen. "You've made your point," she snapped. "No," I said, calmly rising. "Not yet. But I will." As she stormed out, I sat back down, sipped her untouched coffee, and watched her speed off down the street. She thought that was the end of it. But tonight, Carly would walk into a room she never expected. With every secret she'd tried to hide, projected for the world to see. Carly was getting an award. That's what made it perfect. The Savannah School District's annual gala for educators was a big deal. Black tie, city officials, press from the local paper. And Carly, she was being recognized for excellence in student advocacy. The irony nearly made me choke. I wore the green silk dress she always said brought out my eyes. Let her think everything was fine. "Wish me luck," she whispered, kissing my cheek before stepping on stage. "Break a leg," I said with a smile she didn't deserve. She looked radiant up there, beaming under the spotlight as her principal rattled off her accomplishments. Her parents clapped from the second row. Everyone applauded. Until the screen behind her flickered. It wasn't part of the slideshow. Not the photos of her classroom, or group shots from Staff Development Week. This slideshow was mine. I'd borrowed the AV system, under the guise of playing a last-minute tribute. No one questioned it. The first image appeared, Carly and Marissa, kissing on the Airbnb balcony, timestamp and all. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. A few people actually clapped, assuming it was some progressive love story. Then the texts appeared. Marissa. She still doesn't know. This is killing me. Carly. It's fine. I've got her distracted. She thinks it's her fault we're distant. Marissa. You're scary sometimes. Carly. Only when I need to be. Laughter died. Whispers rose. I watched Carly freeze on stage, face blank, smile fading like a curtain being pulled shut. She turned slowly, seeing the evidence unravel behind her. What is this? She asked into the mic, voice cracking. No one answered. Because the room was already reacting. Her principal stepped back. Parents whispered behind hands. A teacher near me muttered, "Is that Marissa?" I stood quietly, letting her twist in the storm she'd built. After the final image, a calendar screenshot labeled Girls' Weekend Kiss Mark, the screen faded to black. Just a single word lingered at the bottom. Betrayal. Carly ran off stage. I didn't follow. I let her marinate in the same panic I'd felt, that slow realization that your world is collapsing and there's no one coming to save you. Later that night, I found her on our porch, curled up with a bottle of wine and tears streaming down her face. Why? She whispered when she saw me. Why would you do this to me? I looked at her, hollow and honest. I didn't do anything to you. I just showed them who you really are. She sobbed, mascara streaking her cheek. Then my phone buzzed. It was Evan. It's done. She's been dropped by 3 clients already. The next morning, Carly didn't get out of bed. She just laid there, staring at the ceiling, clutching a pillow like it might float her above the mess. I didn't offer sympathy. Because here's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't just wound, it reconstructs you. I wasn't the same woman who begged for connection. I was done begging. Instead, I walked into the kitchen, brewed a cup of coffee, and opened my laptop. A new email had come in from our couples counselor. One Carly had forgotten to cancel months ago. Subject line, checking in, ready to reconnect? I hit reply. Hi Claire. No need for future sessions. Carly and I are separating. Best. Jenna. I hit send. Behind me, I heard the floor creak. Carly stood in the doorway, hair tangled, face pale. You're leaving. I nodded. You already did. Her voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to go like this. I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt. That's the difference between us, I said quietly. I think about consequences before I destroy people. She stepped forward, eyes glassy. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. I raised my hand. No. Stop. And she did. Later that day, I met Evan again, this time in a quiet legal office just off Broughton Street. He'd connected me with a friend, a soft-spoken woman named Teresa who specialized in amicable divorces with hard boundaries. I want full separation of assets, I told her. The house was mine before we married. I've got the deed. She can have her car and her clothes, but nothing else. What about spousal support? She asked. I glanced at Evan, who gave a small nod. No, I said. Let her figure that out on her own. She's good at starting new chapters without asking permission. By the time we left, Carly's inbox had already received the initial paperwork. By the end of the week, the school board had suspended her pending an ethics review. Someone had anonymously submitted the texts, citing unprofessional conduct. And Marissa. According to Evan, she was hemorrhaging clients. Turns out people don't like working with liars, he said with a grin. Shocking, I replied dryly. I moved out quietly that weekend. Took my dog, my plants, and the pieces of myself she hadn't managed to break. As I drove down Victory Drive, sunlight pouring through the windshield, I glanced at the rearview mirror one last time. The house shrank behind me, and I didn't feel loss. I felt clarity. But I wasn't done yet. There was one more move to make. One that would close the loop, with both of them. 3 weeks passed. Quiet ones. Carly moved into a rental on the west side. No porch swing, no garden, no lake view. Just beige walls and silence. Marissa vanished from social media. Her brokerage quietly took her off the top agents list. The fallout from our little slideshow surprise had reached the HOA board, the school district, and even a few community volunteer circles. I never lifted a finger. They unraveled all on their own. But I had one final seed to plant. And it came in the form of a letter. I printed it on thick, ivory paper, folded it neatly, sealed it in an envelope, and hand-delivered it to Carly's new mailbox. No name on the front. Just her address. Inside. A copy of a contract. It was from a local non-profit, Women Rebuilding Women. A small organization I'd volunteered with in college. They'd just awarded me a grant to start a new branch focused on helping women recover financially after partner betrayal or divorce. They loved my idea: free workshops, resume support, legal literacy, financial planning. In the supporters section, Evans Engineering Firm. 3 anonymous donors. And a name Carly would never forget. Marissa Blake. I didn't forge it. Marissa had signed it herself, desperate to clean up her image. She wanted back in the community's good graces and thought donating to a healing initiative would soften her fall. I just helped guide her toward the right one. Carly would see the name. See Marissa's signature beneath mine. And know that even if they stayed together, even if they somehow clawed back a version of happy, it would come with one cruel, permanent irony. She would always live in the shadow of the woman she betrayed. The woman who took their lies and turned them into something beautiful. And I moved on. New apartment. New haircut. A job offer in Charleston I never saw coming. People think revenge is fire. That it scorches the earth. But mine was water. It moved quietly, flowed through cracks, and washed every trace of them out of my life. No shouting. No threats. Just silence. And closure.